China starts a meme flame war with Scott Morrison. Trump's lawyers fire everything they've got to save the Republic. And Slomo is forced to call out the Great Reset. This is The Arc with Ricardo Bossi. Ricardo, welcome to Queensland.
Thanks, mate. Lovely to be here.
It's beautiful, isn't it? We've been meeting so many different people, and the biggest thing I've noticed when I shake their hands, first off, it's great to shake their hand finally, and second of all, they all think I'm a lot taller in person. They're like, because like, and I challenge them. I'm like, okay, guys, you sit next to Ricardo and look big. You just like the guy, because I'm 6 foot, you know, and I'm 95 kilos. Ricardo, do you mind me asking your measurements?
Yeah, I'm about 6'3" and 107 kgs.
And what do you think of the people out here?
Oh, brilliant! It's been a great trip up through northern New South Wales, which is the first part of the national tour, and we crossed into Queensland today, and looking forward to covering just about every major centre in the state.
I can't wait to see, because we talked about the 2.5 million people we've reached with this channel, which has been incredibly successful. We're really excited to see the faces now. Yep. I mean, it's one thing to put these videos out and to complain to a camera. It's another thing to get out there and make it tangible, meet the people, see what makes them tick, see what's on their mind. So, I mean, yeah, it's been really rewarding.
Oh, look, the meetings we've had thus far have been remarkable. They're very similar to the Zooms that we ran for 3.5 weeks after the Queensland election, every night, or 4 nights a week for a couple of hours. But with the face-to-face meetings, they get a chance to speak more and ask deeper and more penetrating questions. And invariably the result at the end of it is this, and here's a summary. It's basically, we liked A1 before the meetings, now we love A1. And not enough people know about it, and that's about to change.
Yeah.
And so it's extremely encouraging. And the people, the quality of the Australia One family is just breathtaking. Let me give you 2 examples. We received a $2 donation from let's say a young woman of advanced age, because that's all she could manage, but she understood that everybody had to have skin in the game.
Yeah.
The day before, we got a $10 donation from an invalid pensioner, and he said, I am an invalid pensioner, but I've still got some fight in me yet. And this is the quality of the people. I mean, we get some big donations too, which is very welcome, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But the commitment of the people who are putting in their 2, 5, 10, 50, $20 donations is just remarkable.
Yeah.
And that confirms every day in my mind why we will win.
Yeah.
Because these people, they're not handing over money for policies, because they're just good, decent people that want a good, decent country again.
That's awesome. That's so good. We're going to see even more people this weekend. So today we're filming this on a Friday, guys. On Sunday, the 6th of December, we will be seeing a bunch more people out at the marches. We're going to be going to Brisbane. We're going to be seeing a bunch of different people at the Freedom Day March there, and I'm really looking forward to meeting more of you out there. The last time we had something like this, we were in Sydney with Romeo Georges, and
That's right.
we made our points heard, and it was really awesome to get out and meet all the watchers of the Arc in its early inception. But everyone, get out there. This is airing on a Saturday. Get out there on Sunday. Go see everyone, and make sure you really get everyone else in your family to get out there and really celebrate what's great about this country, and to show the government that we are watching you. You can't just do this stuff and think we're not going to be seeing it. We see everything. And if you keep this up, it's just going to keep getting worse for you. So this week we saw Scott Morrison get in a bit of a flame war with China. One of the Chinese, I think, ambassadors, Li Jiangzhou, he put this shocking photo out where he said, this is on Twitter, where he said, "Shocked by the murder of Afghan civilians and prisoners by Australian soldiers. We strongly condemn such attacks and call for holding them accountable." And there you can see a photo of an Australian soldier grinning while he slits the throat of a young Afghani girl holding a unblemished lamb.
And yet this has been news for 3, 4, 5 days now, and the rest. See, this is when I refer to kabuki, shadow theatre. This is what it is. If they're giving this airtime, it's because they don't want us to think about anything else. This is complete nonsense. We know it's nonsense. Everybody knows it's nonsense. Slomo, Silent Scott, is very angry about it, and people are just over and over the top about a bloody tweet. Give me a break. Even Matt Canavan, Slick Willie, he said, and listen to the words they use, because they're trying to, this is part of the whole brainwashing technique that we've been talking about. He said, Australia should get out of this abusive relationship with China. Like we're some poor put-upon pregnant teenager with an abusive sort of 30-year-old boyfriend. And, Scott's going to stand up to it, and this is complete nonsense. And then, by the way, Slomo, you can't stand up to China when you're on your knees, so nobody believes you for starter. But the fact that this has had so much airtime by everybody means it's absolute rubbish. So what don't they want you to know about? Oh, I don't know. The triads bringing in ice through the port of Darwin, which they control. Ice epidemic in Townsville, and China's about to take over Townsville port as well, I understand. Ice factories out of Chinchilla, where the sound of automatic weapons is heard on a regular basis that keeps everybody at bay. So let's not talk about any of that stuff. Let's not talk about the land that was gifted to a Chinese company to open up an export abattoir in northern Queensland. Now, it's a great idea, the abattoir, work, no problem, but why is the local council gifting land to the Chinese company? See, these are the things that Slomo and his Chinese Communist Party controlled puppet government don't want you to know about. They want to know about a tweet, a meme. Give me a break, please, grow up. Just stop it. This is just nonsense. We know it's nonsense. Start fixing the problem, Slomo.
I have to admit, it is strange that, let me put it to you this way, guys. The only time I've seen the media in the US commend Donald Trump was when he did airstrikes on the Assad government in the Middle East, when allegedly chemical weapons were done. They said, he's very presidential, he's this, he's that. That's when you know the mother effers over there in the media are all in it together. The military-industrial complex. That's when you know something's up. They never agree on anything.
Yeah.
So when I saw this, I was like, hang on a sec. What's going on? Because, look, you look at ScoMo calling this out, and this fake pic, and it's at face value, it's commendable. It's like, oh wow, he found his marbles. He's actually standing up for Australia. Will he? Is he prepared to sever trade ties? Is he prepared to start pulling the trigger, or is it all words?
No, this is just a show. The only courage we've seen this week is from Kennard, from Kennard's Hire, the businessman that said, we should pull out of China, make a conscious decision not to work with China anymore. That's a sound principle as far as I'm concerned. But the pollies won't, because they're all bought and paid for. There's a ton of circumstantial evidence that these people will get on their knees at the first Chinese syllable that comes from the north. I don't believe a moment, or I don't believe the Labor Party or the Liberal Party have any intention of backing away from China. They have, both of them over the decades, made sure that we were dependent upon them. I think something like 80% of our trade is with China. A single point of failure, if ever there was one. And so we are compelled to bow to them. It's
insane. And America's no better, guys. I mean, I think something like 80 to 90% of their medication comes from China. They had PPE gear that was turned around going to the US, hundreds of thousands of masks and other gear turned around. They got on the phone and said, turn this around. Similar with Australia, all those property companies. Did we forget about that? Those Chinese Australian companies that were sending all this PPE gear back to China. What's going on? On that point, Lijiang Zhao, the one that started this flame war on Twitter, let's not forget that he is the same guy that suggested that the US military was the one that started the COVID-19 virus and planted it in China. In fact, he might even be, I'm not sure if this is right or not, but China is starting to blame the COVID-19 virus on Italy last week. And that's Matteo Salvini, your relative over in Italy. He's calling it out, where China suggests that Italy may be the birthplace of the COVID-19 virus.
That's right, and when Hitler invaded Poland, it wasn't Hitler that did it; it was somebody else. And give me a break. I mean, Xi Jinping and the Chinese Communist Party are the modern equivalent of the totalitarian government on the planet, and we're doing business with them. We're doing business, and it stinks. This is, and most Australians of a certain age won't know this term because they never got taught a real history. But in the lead up to World War II, Bob Menzies, in his first term as Prime Minister, was known as Pig Iron Bob because he was sending all the pig iron over to Japan. And so the story went, they sent it back in the form of Zero fighters as they were shooting down Allied aircraft. Well, we've got the same going on in Australia. We're doing business with a totalitarian regime, and it's laughable, and we know this. We don't have to belabour the point. They're picking us up for alleged war crimes in Afghanistan, a handful, relative to the industrial approach to slaughter of the Uyghurs and the Falun Gong, because on the one hand, they certainly provide healthy organs. We've mentioned this before, but let's mention it again for those that aren't aware of it. The Falun Gong, they eat well, they exercise, they meditate, so their organs are healthy. And so they literally, you can book a transplant for any major organ, and they'll match it, and you can go in there, book it in, and take it. Everybody else on the planet has to wait for somebody to die, but not in China.
Yeah.
And then they have the Uyghurs, and they do the same to the Uyghurs who are in concentration camps. The Uyghurs are ethnic Chinese who are Muslims, and they harvest organs from them as well, because they have the Middle Eastern market, and they want halal organs, halal hearts, lungs, livers, and you know it.
What does that mean, halal?
And there you go, acceptable, as opposed to haram, which is unacceptable, unclean, dirty.
Yeah.
And so to be lectured by these people is a joke, and everybody knows it's a joke. But once again, the fact that Slomo and his Chinese Communist Party controlled government is continuing this, and the lamestream media continues to feed it as if it is the big deal, it just goes to prove the level of complicity with the all Australian political parties, and the mainstream media and business, to pretend like we're doing something, but we're not. Because while they're making you look with at one hand, they're doing other things with their other hand. So this is a joke and a con, and we know it. Everybody knows it. It's
insane, and there's a lot of agreement from people on the progressive side as well on the on what's going on with the Uyghur camps, and they're trying to battle with the Labor Party and the other progressives, and they're not listening.
And none of the mainstream media is calling out. Peter Credlin, nope. Alan Jones, nope. Andrew Bolt, nope. Paul Murray, nope. Because they're all shills for the Liberal Party.
China also tried blaming this week India. It seems like this is 1984, and the party or Big Brother is changing their mind for whatever that suits them. There's this great scene where history is just a constantly moving forward thing, being revised to suit the narrative for now, to achieve the next goal. You know, India, don't be surprised what happens between India and China, guys. Things are going to heat up very quickly, but we won't spend any more time on China. Speaking about Canavan, because you mentioned his name, to his credit, this week he's come out and said that he wants to call on the Prime Minister to tear up the agreement in New South Wales and build a coal-powered station in the Hunter Valley in New South Wales. Sounds like a good thing, doesn't it, Ricardo?
Oh yeah, it's just too little, too late. I mean, it's almost like we're congratulating someone for doing their bloody job, and yet for years, old Slick Willie here has been silent. And all of a sudden, he's decided he better step up and say something. I don't know what's motivating him, but yes, it is the right thing to do. The whole national energy grid we've mentioned before is a joke. States should be independent of their power needs. Victoria has a ton of brown coal, burn brown coal.
Yep.
New South Wales got black coal, you burn that.
Yep.
Queensland can build hydro and burn black coal, then you should be doing that. Free it up, get on with it. This is a statement of the blinding obvious, but here's the trick. They behave like such imbeciles that one good idea seems like a major step forward. The fact is every one of them should be sacked for years of neglect, for burdening us with outrageously expensive power, which has burdened families, which has destroyed our manufacturing, which has removed one of our best advantages, economic advantages as a manufacturing nation. And finally he comes up with, hey, let's build a coal-fired power station. Well, good for you, Matt. Well done.
Yeah.
Except for one thing. Too little, too late.
Exactly. And another point would be, where's the next dams project, guys? See, if they came out with one, we'd commend them. We'd be like, oh, well done. This guy deserves a, Nobel Peace Prize. But it's because the bar is so low, and we've become so acclimed to them just doing nothing.
Yep.
Anyway, what do you? I don't know how you stay patient with this, Ricardo. You don't. You don't. All right. What else have we got? What else is happening on the China front?
Oh, okay, China. Let's talk about Keswick Island. Okay, Keswick Island, off Mackay. Now, that's a lovely little island, airstrip. A bunch of people built sort of holiday shacks there. They rent them out as bed and breakfasts. And there's some of the purest honey in Australia is grown there. The bees are there. They have the hives. And it's been a thriving little community. Lovely setup there. Now, the Palaszczuk government leased the island to a company called China Bloom. There's a surprise. And China Bloom's remit is to develop into a tourist destination. Well, in the process of doing that, they've shut down the airstrip so they can't fly in anymore. They've prevented access for the honeymaker to get to his hives. And they are making it near impossible for the bed and breakfast owners to operate their bed and breakfasts. So they've effectively shut down. The Palaszczuk government has effectively shut down an island that was a lovely little place for the Australians and for tourists in order to facilitate another China takeover.
Yeah.
See, that's why they're so arrogant. Because they own Australia in their minds, and they probably do. They've bought and paid for just about every politician they've got. And the ones that aren't owned by China, they're owned by the Islamists. And the ones that aren't owned by the Islamists are owned by, let's say, I don't know, the corporations. So China's moving in, it's taking over, it owns the place, it's moving with arrogance, it's a bully. It's affecting the lives of Australians in a real and immediate way, all facilitated by corrupted politicians. Australia's got to wake up. The average punter's got to wake up and realise that you just can't sit in the corner and hope that they leave you alone. They're not going to leave you alone. At no point will they leave you alone.
Yeah. Interesting. What's happening with Peter Dutton?
Well, Peter Dutton and Peter Credlin had a love fest the other night. My God, I thought they were going to kiss and have kids. Dutton, Home Affairs Minister, is developing this offensive cyber capability to bring down the dark web to prevent pedophiles. He wants to protect the kids. And so he's going to, he's got this advanced capability now, cyber capability, to shut down pedos. Now that sounds wonderful. It really does. But once again, if a politician's talking, it's because he's probably concealing something else. If Dutton was so keen on protecting kids, how come he doesn't say something about the 28 VIP pedophiles that the Howard government put a 90-year suppression order on? Serious, start right now, Peter. And I'll give you the name of one judge. He's the gorilla in black lace. He's known in the profession. Won't be hard to find him. Google it and you'll find it. How about you start with him? How about you start revealing names of people who are suspected of, and deserve a fair trial, of pedophilia in high places? Former Prime Minister, judges, police, you name it. So Peter wants to protect the kids. Well, I bet you he's using that cyber capability to weaponise his investigation into political opponents. That's my opinion, and I'm allowed to have one. Is he going to catch some pedos? Maybe. Do I trust him? Not one bit. Not till he and Slomo and the rest of the Liberal Party government open their mouths and say, you know what, we have to lift this suppression order on the 28 VIP pedophiles. And the Labor Party can get on the act too, because the 80-year suppression order as a result of the Mulligan inquiry in South Australia, that should be removed as well as the alleged over 40 other suppression orders nationally that are protecting pedophiles. Okay, Peter, you want to protect the kids? Do that. Otherwise, we know that you're just blowing smoke up our skirts and we don't like it, mate.
Yeah, I mean, Peter, you've been called out. You've got to do it, man. Now you got to do it. Otherwise, someone's going to take your seat. What has happened with the... we've had a bit more information come out about the Afghan report. Well, any progress?
The veteran community and the average Australians are apoplectic, rightly so. There are calls for Angus Campbell to be sacked. He's the Chief of the Defence Force, General Angus Campbell. There are calls for Lieutenant General Rick Burt, Chief of Army, to be sacked for both the handling of this and the conflict of interest. I support both of those, but that's not up to me. But I can tell you what, it'd be a step forward.
Yeah.
So everyone beneath them realises there are consequences to bad decisions. But let's just leave that to one side, because that's getting some headway. Let's take a slightly different tack on this. Admiral Barry is a former Chief of the Defence Force, and he came out and he was making all sorts of terrible allegations about Special Forces culture. Admiral Barry probably served the Navy with distinction, but he was an embarrassment as a Chief of the Defence Force, and later in life, because this guy was a fully paid up member of the left-green lunatic agenda, and he claimed that climate change is one of the major threats for the short to medium term that the defence had to come to grips with. So again, when you hear the criticism, Barry criticising Special Forces, look at who's making the criticism, then ask the question, who is this buffoon? Admiral Barry, you were an embarrassment. We knew it. We kept our mouths shut. We should have said something at the time. But anyway, that's another one issue. And let's talk about Justice Burton, who did the actual inquiry.
Yeah,
Burton made the breathtaking assessment about Special Forces culture needing to be examined, removed, destroyed, clean it out, destroy the Special Forces community. Well, people should have a look at Justice Burton's background, find out why he was asked to do the job and why he would make such claims. Be interesting background to Justice Burton. Who's he connected to? Which organisations is he connected to? But more importantly, Justice Burton, you blowhard, you imposter, you pumped up nothing. You're talking about Special Forces culture. Well, I can tell you, mate, every one of those men is twice the man you'll ever be. Ever be. They have more integrity, more courage, more stamina, more everything than you. And you want to talk about Special Forces culture, mate? Okay, how about this? Have a look at the culture of the legal fraternity in Australia, where you and every one of your mates has been silent on these 28 VIP pedophiles that I mentioned earlier. Every lawyer and judge in this country is aware of what's going on, and not one of you says a thing. You are cowards to a man. Every last one of you. So, Justice Burton, you can get stuffed until you open your mouth and say something about the pedophiles that run it. And I'm not interested in judges that retire and then speak out. Show some stones, because you haven't got any. And how dare you criticise the Special Forces culture, where the culture of the legal fraternity in Australia is awash with cocaine and pedophilia. And you and your fat, lazy mates say nothing about it. The Chief Justice of the Family Court put on a dinner one night and had some females dressed in judicial robes simulating sexual acts. And this is the actions of a Chief Justice? And nothing happened to her, did it? Diana Bryant, nothing happened. And you have the temerity to call out the culture of the Australian Special Forces. I'll say it again, mate, get stuffed. You and your mates, until you open your mouth and clean up your own culture, you have no right, you have no grounds, you have no standing to criticise Special Forces. So crawl back under your bloody hole, Brereton, and understand that nobody gives a rat's ass what you think about us. You and your mates can go to hell. Next question.
Warrior ethos. You know, his attacks they just kind of make me sound like it's like toxic masculinity. You know, we've got to slam toxic masculinity.
Well, maybe he lost his testicles somewhere along the track.
I think you're onto something.
I think I might be. Maybe he identifies as a 16-year-old girl. Justice Burton.
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
Easy to prove me wrong, mate.
What a piece of
Call out the names.
Yeah.
Call out your own culture.
Exactly. We don't enjoy doing this. Just do your damn job, and then we don't have to cover this. There's better things to cover, I'm sure you'd agree. Like this. Greg Hunt, Health Minister.
Oh.
Good God.
It's a parade, isn't it?
Guys, if you haven't seen this yet, they're laughing in your face. Look, all right. I put this post out a couple weeks ago, and I purposely didn't report it because I wanted to see if he'd, one, remove the image from Instagram, and two, say why he owns the book. Nothing. Completely nothing. This blew up on social media. So for those of you who can see this image now, Greg Hunt, MP, Minister, not a Minister for, what do you call him?
Minister for killing people with vaccinations. Oh, I'm sorry, Minister for Health.
He has this book.
Hang on, is he wearing a poppy like I do?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, good.
Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny, Ricardo?
Okay.
Anyway, he owns this book from Klaus Schwab. It's called COVID-19, The Great Reset. This is the guy that said, we need a great reset. We need the fourth industrial revolution. This guy, so look, I said, Greg, okay, I get it. We all read widely. Some of us have read Mein Kampf. It's fine. Can you please explain? I pulled the pull in. I'm sure you can.
I'll tell you what that book's there for. That's their way of explaining that I'm all in with the Great Reset. I don't know if I've explained this to you before, how it works. I use the analogy of Indian cricket, right? The corruption in Indian cricket.
You have, yeah.
Right. So the millionaire wants to win, and millionaires don't lose. They want the game skewed in their favour. And so bookmaker comes along and says, I can fix the game so you can win. And so millionaire says, show me. He said, okay, you watch. This bowler, I control this bowler. And in the third over, on the first ball, it'll be wide to the right. And so they watch the game. Third over, first ball, wide to the right. No problem. bookmaker puts a ton of money down, gets his money, away we go. So it's a once you understand the code, the way it's done, that's how it's done. Now in politics, there are similar requirements. People are willing to back certain politicians if they can get the legislation they want, but they want proof that the politician is under control. And so what the party hack will say, well, you watch, during this speech, when he mentions the war in Afghanistan, he will pause and take a drink from his bottle of water and then continue the speech. So the politician makes the speech, and whatever the moment is, in this case, he mentions the war in Afghanistan, picks up a bottle of water, drinks and moves on. So the money man knows that this politician is controlled. Another way that was done more recently was in the US specifically, and this is going back during Obama era, where Ryan was reluctantly being drafted to the job of Speaker of the House. He didn't want it.
Paul Ryan.
And all of a sudden, people started growing beards. Paul Ryan grew a beard, a whole bunch of beards. There's even a couple in Australia that grew beards. Now, you might say, well, that's got nothing to do with it. It's got everything to do with it.
Okay.
This is their way of saying, I'm on board with you.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a code. Once you get the code, you get it.
Yeah.
And so they grew beards, and that's their way of saying, these are the people you can trust because we control them. And both sides of politics did it.
Yeah.
And in Australia, people did the same.
Yeah.
So what this is, in my opinion, this is Greg's Hunt way of saying, I'm on your side, Klaus. I'm all in. We will do what must be done. Make sure you look after me when I get out of Parliament because I'm utterly unemployable after that. That's my opinion. I'm allowed to have one, but that's why I reckon that book's there.
Wow. And for those of you that don't know, COVID-19, The Great Reset, this book, if you look it up, firstly, you'll notice it comes up on Google, written by Klaus Schwab, a big proponent of the World Economic Forum. Look at our previous episodes on this. You'll notice it's got a 16% like rate on the book by Google users. I don't think the internet likes this very much. You know, I do want to read this book, guys, because you want to keep your friends close and your enemies closer. But Greg hasn't said anything about this image, and it blew up on social media, so that's why I'm bringing it up again. But let's move on. That's Greg Hunt. And this week we saw Labor is looking to support the Foreign Relations Bill. So as you know, there's been a lot of the federal government's kicked up a big stink over the fact that in Victoria that Dan Andrews signed the Belt and Road Initiative, and they want to be able to override that. So basically, what this bill that they've put forward indicates is that it will allow the federal government to override contentious bills like the Belt and Road Initiative, and many agreements made by the universities with overseas funders. I don't know what you say to that, Ricardo, but not bad. It sounds right.
Once again, they have sold us out for decades, and now because they appear to be doing their jobs, we're grateful. Too little, too late. The destruction of Australian sovereignty at multiple levels simultaneously for decades has been going on. And we mentioned it before, but I'll remind people who may not have heard it. There are councils around the country, Newcastle, for example, Newcastle City Council. And once again, councils have no constitutional basis. They are corporations created to do roads and rubbish and rates, and that's it. And yet these councils are the way the UN and the globalists get straight into Australia. It bypasses the national government, it bypasses the state government, and they get their strategic plans into council plans. And so they are controlling what's happening at the ground level. Now, this has been going on for decades. Everybody knows about it. So for the federal parliament to pretend they didn't know, they're either incompetent or liars.
Yeah.
For the state governments not to know, they're incompetent or liars. There's only two choices here. And so they know. So the fact that they are now appearing to do what they could have done anyway, they don't need legislation for this.
Yeah.
They do not require legislation.
Yeah.
So it's the announcement of something that we intend to do in the fullness of time, in the manner of Sir Humphrey Appleby from Yes Prime Minister. They make announcements. They don't do. They make announcements. They make announcements. Now, if they follow through on this, good luck to them, but this should have been done ages ago.
Yeah.
So the question is not so much, isn't this great? Of course it's a sensible idea. Why are they doing it now? Why are they pretending to do it now? Is it because they think they're being caught out? Is it because somebody's putting pressure on them? Are they starting to feel the pinch? Are they losing the Australian people?
Yeah. Interesting.
Again, too little, too late. Don't believe you. Thanks for your time. Get out.
Yeah. Interesting. Guys, things are slowing down a bit this year. The big bump that we saw in traffic from people following the US election is coming to us slow. A lot of people have been watching what's been happening in the US, and they are very eager to resolve the disputed election that's been going on. So I'm going to briefly cover this. You guys know what the map looks like. Nothing's really changed with the map from last week, but I did want to highlight a few of the irregularities I came across this week, because not much has really changed, if I'm being completely honest with you. In Nevada, here's an example. A Trump campaign lawyer, Jesse Bernal, just said that the campaign has evidence, which is filed under seal, which means it's not open to the public viewing, that 19,000 non-Nevadans voted, 42,000 people double voted, 15,000 commercial addresses or vacant lots had people that voted, and 8,000 fake addresses had people vote, and 1,500 dead people voted. The judge is going to be looking at this basically today, and tomorrow at 10 a.m. US time, he's going to be showing his decision for that in Nevada. Now, Nevada is only 6 electoral college votes. If something happens there, it'll be very fascinating. Maybe it'll be the catalyst for other places to follow suit, but I'm not holding my breath, guys. This is going to be interesting. This is going to be very interesting. Another anomaly for you. Joe Biden won 16.7% of the counties in the USA. Joe Biden only won 477 counties, while Trump won 2,664 counties. And there's the map to just show you how democratic this election was and how widespread it was. So obviously you've got all the urban centers voting for Biden. Another irregularity I wanted to show you, because by the way, just on that last bit, Obama won a greater percentage than that. That's why it's important, because I don't think Joe Biden was as widely loved as the first black president of the United States that was promising to end wasteful wars in his first term. Moving on, we've got a ton of irregularities. One of the things we've been finding is you've got all these votes, Ricardo, and you've got the Republicans doing really well down ballot, but Donald Trump not doing well. You have all these ballots coming in just voting for Biden, but not voting for the other Democrats down ballot. So the result of that is the GOP in 2018. So this is when Donald Trump wasn't on the ticket. In 2018, the GOP, the Republican Party, lost 40 House seats. This time round, they had Trump on the ticket. The Republican Party held every seat in the House of Congress, in the House of Representatives. They didn't lose a single one. They were projected to lose dozens. They gained 12 House seats. And on top of that, looks like they're projected to hold on to the Senate, according to the majority view. And statewide, they made GOP gains. In fact, in New York City, Donald Trump, so this is a really blue state, guys. This is AOC's territory. This is Andrew Cuomo and Bill de Blasio's area. If you've got, I think it was Nancy Pelosi who said, it doesn't matter who you run, you could put a glass of water and put a D on it and it would win an election in New York. So Donald Trump, he got the highest vote count since 2004 in New York City. He got 22.7%, as you can see in the graph there. This is what's unusual. Donald Trump did better. He improved way more in New York City. You get all of these 6 swing states where these massive swings happen against him in the middle of the night. This is why people are having trouble accepting the result. And all you Democrat progressives that are hammering them over the head, you need to recognize that. Another thing, you've got some you've got some councils, some counties, like the city of North Muskegon, with a turnout of 781%.
That's a very democratic county.
Oh, absolutely.
They love their voting.
And then after that, you got Zeeland Charter Township on 460%. Guys, we covered this last week. Australia has compulsory voting. Of that 100% that should be voting, only 90% 96% actually register, and of the 100% that can vote, only 91.6% actually vote on the day.
Yeah.
The fact that you have dozens of counties we're all looking at right now, that are above 91.6% is insane.
We used to laugh in the old days when the Soviet Union would have its elections, and we had 97% popularity for the presiding dictator, and we'd just, in the West, we'd sit back and laugh. But look at this. This is just so inspiring. 781%, 460%, 215% of just brilliant.
Yeah.
We're a joke.
Yeah.
The same stuff happens in Oz. Jeez. It's happening in the US. It's exactly the same. The vote fraud is as profound.
Yeah, and I mean, we covered it briefly, and I think the first episode of the Ark, where you said in Queensland there's this place where there's all of these empty lots. It's where the beach is, and there are thousands of votes that are just coming from there. And there's no houses there. There's no letterboxes there.
Nothing.
And we're seeing that. I mean, I called it out before, guys. Thousands of votes in Nevada. Addresses that don't exist. Some of them do exist, but it's a shopping centre. People don't live in a shopping centre.
Yeah.
It's insane. It's absolutely insane. I wanted to briefly touch on the changing demographic of the Democrat Party. So this election, we've got a lot of stats that have come out. You can see this first graph, which is the presidential vote in the top 100 counties with the highest 2019 median income. So these are the richest counties in America. Now, in the 1980s, you could see that the Republican Party was the party of, the rich and the powerful, and the blue dog Democrats were the less so. Well, 2020 has completely reversed that. We're looking at 57% of the most expensive, most highest earning counties, average counties in the US, voting for Joe Biden. In fact, how many billionaires? We saw a couple of billionaires run this time. I think we saw Tom Steyer and Bloomberg run this time around, yet they have the audacity. People like Bernie Sanders, who rails against the billionaires and the millionaires until he became a millionaire. He stopped saying millionaires. To say, Donald Trump is batting for the millionaires and billionaires. Well, this doesn't show that, guys. Not at all. Another graph. Presidential votes in the 100 most populous counties. As you saw before, Joe Biden, he's apparently won the election with only 16% of the counties in America. These are those counties. 91% of them are the most populous ones. So you've got these inner city, snooty elites, and here's the next graph. These are the presidential votes in the top 100 counties with the largest share of college degrees. 84%.
Go figure. The richest, best educated.
Yeah. And if you think that being educated makes you a better citizen, guys, did you know that the most educated cabinet in history, with the most PhDs and doctorates between them, was Hitler's cabinet?
There you go. There you go.
Absolutely insane. So,
well, it speaks to your point about the corporate Democrats. The corporate Democrats are a group unto themselves, got nothing to do with ideology, and the genuine left are beholden to them.
Yeah.
And you said it. Let Trump smash it.
Yeah. I've been saying it for a few weeks now. I've been scratching my head. And look, the changing nature of the party, guys, there are over 100 million people in the USA that will oppose Joe Biden. At least with Trump, he had 50% of the country that backed him. 74 million people. The second highest vote in history, according to the votes we got this year round. I bet you any money there's over a million. There's millions of votes for Joe Biden which shouldn't be there, but 100 million people do not back Joe Biden. Where am I getting the other 30 or 40 million from? It's from the Democratic Party. Remember, guys, I used to be a progressive. 2016, 2017, Joel Jammal. He did not like the corporate Democrats. He did not like Obama. He did not like Joe Biden. He did not like Hillary Clinton. For the same reasons I'm telling you right now. This guy, I'm not even kidding. I'm looking forward to showing this clip to people in the future. Count down the days from January 20th. If Trump doesn't pull this off, count down the days that Joe Biden, until he blows up his first kid. Just wait for it. Tim Pool, he voted for Obama in 2008. Massive win. It was a record-breaking win before these elections. And it was all great. He was promising to end the wars and bring the troops back. Never did it. In fact, in his first term, he drone striked American citizens, young boys, young girls, civilians. Insane. How long until Joe Biden does it? It's not looking good, guys. It's not looking good. And that's what you can expect. So don't be surprised if you have 2024, the year of unusual alliances, all the Republicans and Democrats getting right behind Donald Trump so that he can be the bull in the China shop, smash the China shop up so that in 2028 you can have the Republicans and the Democrats have a true battle of ideas and go from there.
I still think Trump will pull this off. I think he's going to be the president. If he doesn't, it'll be he'll be back in 2024 for another 8 years. Yeah. As long as we can survive the 4 years of a Biden administration, because if Biden does get in, the US and therefore the world is going to be in a bad way.
Absolutely. And you know what? I've been hearing things get so desperate. There's a constitutional group in the US that are saying that if Donald Trump is unable to take the legal route, he might need to declare martial law just to secure the country. I mean, I think it was Pompeo who said in the US, he's the Secretary of State, he said that China has successfully managed to infiltrate every level of the US government and our infrastructure of the country.
They're already under a state of emergency and have been for some time now. He announced a state of emergency back in his first 12 months.
Yeah.
That hasn't been revoked, so they are in a state of emergency, and he's been holding this sort of Damocles over their heads. So there might be some clever move. I mean, there's some great stories flying around too. Allegedly, there were some servers in Germany that were collecting the actual votes. And whether you want to believe the stories or not, I don't. I'm not saying this is true or not, but it's just interesting.
Yeah.
5 special ops people were killed. One is CIA. This is deep state. They got the servers, and it shows that Trump has won something like 410 of the Electoral College votes.
Yeah.
The Attorney General Barr has said there's no evidence of wide systemic fraud.
Yeah.
So Barr's either crook or they're playing 3-dimensional chess again. But there's so much going on, and what I've noticed about the way Trump plays the game, he allows people to hang themselves. He doesn't go in for the kill. Yeah. He just brings them in, feeds them more rope, and then yanks. Yeah. And so I'm watching carefully to see what he does and how he does it, because he never goes in for the obvious kill. He lets them hang themselves. Because as we've said before, and this comes out of the US a lot, sometimes you can't tell people. You've got to show them. They have to see for themselves, even if it takes a long time, and even if it causes pain. To quote Roy Rogers, sometimes people have to piss on the electric fence for themselves. Yeah. Yeah. But I'm still optimistic he'll be the president, and that's good for us if he is.
Yeah, one of the fears. So last week I painted quite a bleak picture, and we finished the episode with Tim Pool losing his crap. This is back in July. Yeah. That video did really well. Got 60,000 views. People were like, "Oh, this is pretty full on." It's real and it's raw, because I want you guys to realize that this isn't a movie. You can lose, and the problems won't go away if you sit on your ass. It's just that I can't put it any more simply. And it's not a fairy tale.
Well, let's just take that for a bit. And this is not a game. You know how I've been saying for some time, no jab, no job, no jab, no travel, no jab, no kids. Yeah. Well, they're already testing it, and you've got to understand the way these people work. They will try something once to see the public reaction, to see if there's any pushback. And then they'll try it again, they'll slowly move towards their actual target. Let me give you an example. The lockdown. The first lockdowns were done against Muslims in high-rise flats. And the reason they targeted them was to see what was the public pushback going to be. And most people went, bunch of Muslims in a high-rise, I don't care. Yeah. So there's no pushback. And so they hit the next group and the next group and the next group, and before you know it, the whole country's locked down. Now, what have they done recently to tell you that exactly the same thing is going to happen here? And this is why this is not a game. This is why we get so exercised over these issues. It's not the 6:30 news where you get disaster news and then a nice dog was saved from the tree story. This is real. A 15 or 16-year-old girl was taken from her parents by the police. The court ordered it. A magistrate ordered the child be removed because the parents would not facilitate her transition to a boy.
Yeah.
Folks, how much more evidence do you need that the government has been destructive to your ends? See, they have persuaded parents that they have no rights over their kids. Because I've said it before, I'll say it again, you get between me and my kids, you're going to die. Really straightforward. Because I have my rights over my kids and the government doesn't. And certainly not some pumped up magistrate who can't quite make judge yet.
Yeah.
And yet a magistrate is now top. Now, Brandis, our weak-kneed Attorney General, who's now the High Commissioner in London, changed the law to make sure that the family court could no longer review the decisions of the magistrates court with relation to family law issues. Well, how about that? So we've got these low-grade magistrates, but that's a tautology if you're not in the legal profession, making decisions that the family court cannot even actually review. And so these parents have lost their child. Now, you can't get a tattoo till you're 18, you can't drink till you're 18, you can't vote till you're 18, but apparently gender reassignment is such a hot issue for Australians that has to get a free ride. So understand this, what's being pushed against you is to destroy you and your kids. And they don't care about your kids. All they care about is their agenda. So when they come in for your kids, folks, you were warned. Better start standing up. Better start saying, no, this is my child. You have no right to take my child from me. Even when I joined the army before the age of 18, my parents had to give authority for that to happen because I was only 17 at the time. And the army stood in there's a Latin term, but in the place of the parents. And the parents had to give authority to the army to take me on as a 17-year-old. Now it's the other way around. Because people have been persuaded they don't have rights over their kids, that the state is sovereign. The state is not sovereign. The government is instituted with the consent of the governed. And when that government becomes destructive to the ends of the people have the right to remove it. That's the Declaration of Independence. That's what we have to start doing. That's what Australians have to understand. We're at this point in history where either we control our destiny or the state does. And by the state, I don't even mean Slomo. I mean the Chinese Communist Party. I mean the Islamists. I mean the corporations. I mean the banks. They are controlling our bought and paid for pollies who are taking our children from us. We've already had one. Unless we stand up, and we got this freedom rally on Sunday.
That's right, we'll see you there, guys.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all people were created equal, and they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. They are taking it from you because they are persuading Australians they have no right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Oh, come and take my kids. Please do. But you better send a lot of people around. I tell you what, send that brave Brereton around and that brave Admiral Barry. Send them the first ones through the door because I've got a special surprise for them if they try it. Yeah. But I'm serious, folks. You've been warned again and again and again. It's time to wake up and realise they are going to destroy you, your livelihood. I had a meeting and one gentleman said, but they can't take my house. I have a piece of paper. And I said, look, you got to understand, they don't care. You can go to the local police station and say, I have a title deed. They're going to say, so what?
Mate, if they can run a train through there, they can take your house just like that. No worries.
They'll take your house, they'll take your money, they'll take your kids, they'll take your life. Yeah. And you'll sit there wondering, what the hell just happened? I'll tell you what happened. You sat there on your fat asses for 30, 40 years and did nothing and just hoped to be left alone. Yeah. You can't hope to be left alone. Yeah. It's time to stand up. It's time to fight. It's time to withdraw our consent. Yeah. And tell every politician to go to hell. Yeah. Every last one of them. Yeah.
You know what's going on in America right now, guys? Joe Biden getting in is him saying, or the establishment saying, don't worry, just go back to sleep. Hit the snooze button. Go back to sleep. You'll be fine. Australians are waking up.
Good.
You can't hit the bloody snooze button, okay? Sometimes you got to get up and earn the hard yards. Get out to that boot camp session. Love you, Ray. That's my trainer. We can't hit snooze. If we hit snooze, then you might find that we don't wake up. And we get put into this simulation which will never break out of, this matrix. Once upon a time, being red-pilled meant that you're becoming a conservative and you're waking up. That's not what it means anymore. It's literally become the establishment versus everyone else. That's why you have so many damn progressives who I empathize with, because often the diagnosis is correct, it's just the solution's wrong. And here's an example of that, guys. We've got a situation where Tulsi Gabbard is siding with Donald Trump. And we'll come to that in a sec. Why is that?
Because it's not about left and right, it's about right and wrong.
Exactly.
That's why.
Exactly. See, guys, it's not a matter of... I'm meeting Drew Pavlo this week, and we're going to film a podcast together. Drew Pavlo is very similar to where I was 2 years ago, when I was progressive and a donating member of the Young Turks. I don't expect to change his mind. I don't expect him to turn him conservative. I do expect him and I to agree on some fundamental principles, like that of the Declaration of Independence, because I believe that allows for both of us to coexist. The rise of the corporation, Jeff Bezos increasing his wealth by 100%, the middle class and the small income businesses being 30% of them being wiped off the face of the earth in the USA, they're not coming back.
They will be in Australia, though. Yeah. I mean it. They're coming back.
Yeah, a nirvana.
That's the way we're going to do it. And we're going to prove good old that dropkick Josh Frydenberg. And the reason I call him dropkick is that's what he called Trump.
Yeah.
He called Trump a dropkick. Really, Joshy. Little Joshy Frydenberg. You can crawl under your rock too, mate.
Yeah.
No, we can come back. And this is the good news part of the story. Once we get into power, and by we I mean the people, not the elite, because you called it. You actually said it right. This is a revolution against the elites. It really is, because it's not about Liberal Labor, because I've told you before, we have old Labor and old Liberals side by side, quite happily, agreeing on about 80% of the thing, and we can negotiate the other 20.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not a problem.
Yeah.
But the Australian spirit and the Australians that we are meeting, and we are seeing the Australia One family particularly, my goodness me, they've got some fight. And they've got the skills. These aren't dumb people. No. These are powerful, wealthy, intelligent, educated, motivated people. And they're ready to stick it to the elites and take the country back. And they also have this very Christian concern for their fellow man. They don't have the "I'll be all right, Jack. I'm all right, Jack. Bugger you." No. They actually see a larger game at play. And so those middle class, wealthy, educated middle class, we're going to explode that group. Explode it.
Yeah.
It's going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
Bigger rural communities, smaller city communities. We'll have bigger families, bigger country towns. We'll spread the people out because they're going to want to live there because it's a better lifestyle. And I've told you once before, one of our metrics, one of the tests of our effectiveness of our economic policy is that one breadwinner in a family makes enough money to buy a house, educate their kids, go on holidays and leave a nest egg for their children after they pass. Now that's a hard measurable metric, as opposed to mum and dad working 2.5 jobs, bundling their kid off to daycare from 6 months on and hoping they can just make the electricity bill next week.
Yeah, and them coming back a socialist, the kids.
There you go. We'll turn this around.
Yeah.
I worry for the rest of the world in the sense that I think they've got real problems.
Yeah.
I'm so optimistic about Australia, it's not funny.
Yeah.
We're going to be fine.
Yeah.
We are going to be fine.
Honestly, guys, and this is where the faith comes into it. I can't explain... Oh, geez. You ready for a Messiah complex?
Go for it.
I can't explain the last three to 5 years of my life. It's got to work. It's got to work. Honestly, we're on the right track. We're on the right train track.
We are.
And the success that's happened has just been not of the show, not of this. What I've been seeing, because I've got my ear to the pavement. I'm listening very hard to what's been happening in the UK, the US, and Australia. Now is the time. We are on the precipice. We are at the turn of the tide. Now is the time to stand up.
We're in the box seat.
Yeah.
As a nation, just look at the physical. We've mentioned it before, but I'll say it again. Look at Australia. It's an island continent. We have no contiguous land borders, which is fantastic, which gives us a ton of sea, air, and land. We've got an intelligent, well-educated, hard-working population. We have a world-beating culture, one that everybody wants to get to. As I said, the world isn't beating a path to Bangladesh. We got all the resources we need. We got all the skills we need. We got all the people we need. We got all the stuff we need. Everything. This is going to be the land of milk and honey. The rest of the planet is going to look at us and ask us, how the hell did you do that? And we'll say, not a problem. Come, we'll show you. You can do it for yourselves.
Yeah.
Australia. My God, this is going to be the best country on the planet.
Yeah.
Bar none.
Absolutely. You've got to seize it, guys. Nothing came from sitting in your ass except a fat ass. Got to seize it. What does a Joe Biden presidency look like? We talked about that last week. For those of you that haven't noticed because you've been living under a rock or you just don't follow US politics, I don't blame you. That's fine. This is where the fate of the republic stands with the US. A Joe Biden presidency with the Senate versus without the Senate looks very, very different.
Oh, yeah.
Very, very different. If he gets the Senate, because this is the situation, guys. If he gets the Senate, if he gets these next two seats that are up for grabs in Georgia.
Georgia and...
It's just Georgia.
Just Georgia's left now?
Yeah, they've got two of them. They've got two Senate seats there.
Okay.
Because they've got runoffs. The way it worked there, it got delayed. So in Georgia, if they get this, that means that the Republicans will be on 50 and the Democrats will be on 50 senators. And Kamala Harris, the most progressive record in 2019, she will be the one that's the tiebreaker. They can get in any one they want into the Supreme Court. They can stack the Supreme Court. They might be able to even get rid of the filibuster. So this is where things stand with... So look, everyone's focusing on Georgia. Everyone is converging on Georgia. People are moving to Georgia so they can vote in Georgia. It's going to be massive. And we've got... The way it stands, you've got these two candidates in this one area. So you've got a Democrat and a Republican, Warnock and Loeffler. Warnock is the Democrat, 52%. Loeffler is on 45%. So they're trailing, the Republicans trailing by 7%. So that's basically the margin which they were wrong with the Donald Trump election. These polls, you can't really trust them. The Democrat in the other race, you've got Ossoff, he's at 50%. And then you've got Perrideau, who's a Republican, at 48%. There's a 2-point difference. That's where things stand right now. The future of the US Republic is basically hinging on this. If the Republicans get the Senate, if they just win one of these seats, just one, then they can keep the darkness at bay significantly for the next few years. Significantly. If not, it is a disaster. It is an absolute disaster. I'm not even kidding, guys. And as Ricardo said, we might not make it through it.
I'm hoping that if that does occur, and a good plans officer always looks at the worst possible scenario and prepares for it, there's enough evidence of malfeasance, misfeasance, criminality that I hope the Trump team can start smashing the Democrats and the rhinos, because they should need to go as well, but smashing the members of Congress and the Senate and start tearing it down.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because this is a war.
Absolutely, it is a war. And notably, guys, I do want to bring up the point that there are a couple of Trump lawyers that aren't saying you should vote for the Republicans because they're not backing Donald Trump. Sidney Powell is saying that Republicans shouldn't go out and vote in Georgia.
And why would that be?
That's a good question. See, this is the problem, guys. You've got to look at this objectively. This might not be... Sidney Powell, you are a fickle person. I cannot read you. The Kraken and all of these promises you've made. The Kraken was a solid document. I looked at it in very extensive detail. I followed The Lotus, which is a podcast done by Sargon of Akkad. Check it out. He runs through it over a couple of hours. It's excellent. But Sidney Powell, I don't know why you're making this call, but trust me, you do not want the Democrats getting hold of the Senate. It is not a good idea at all. So we'll see what happens there. I'm going to reiterate this prediction. I don't think the Republicans are going to be able to pull this off, which is not good, because Donald Trump, just like in 2018, they lost, I think it was 40 seats in the House in 2018, I mentioned before, because Donald Trump wasn't on the ticket. He's only on the ticket in 2020, and back in 2016, the Republicans saw a big boost, but not in 2018. That's what we're seeing right now. He'll be out there, he'll be campaigning, but I still don't think people will get out there. I think people are going to be very lethargic, but we'll see. So as you said, any good commander needs to consider the possibility that the Donald doesn't get in and Joe Biden reigns. This is one of the things that's been happening. Contingency plans. Bill Barr, he's appointed Durham as a special counsel to investigate the origins of the Russia probe. What the hell does that mean? Okay, guys, Bill Barr, he's the Attorney General in the US. He appointed John Durham to be basically the attorney that tackles the origins of the Russiagate probe, which is the Russiagate probe. Geez, there's a lot of jargon, isn't there, guys, for an Australian? It's strange that we follow this, but this is actually really important. When Donald Trump won the US election in 2016, there was a meeting between Obama, Joe Biden, and the Hillary Clinton campaign and a bunch of the intelligence agencies. And they basically wanted to work out how they can spy on the Trump administration during his campaign, but also after. And they tried to nail, and they did nail in many ways, General Flynn as revenge. Funny fact, I don't know if you know this, General Flynn, during the Trump administration, because he did serve in it, he was one of the few whistleblowers that let the information out and leaked it to the public that the Clinton, Hillary Clinton working in the Obama administration and the Obama administration intelligence agencies were funding ISIS and a number of other terrorist organizations in the Middle East. This whole thing is revenge. They've been coming after him for ages. They've wanted to nail this guy. I didn't know that. I found out this week from Tim Pool. Isn't that insane? A lot of people say, the civil war is going to start soon. I'm like, no. The civil war started when Donald Trump started running his campaign and they started spying on him. John Durham, he's running that investigation. And if they manage to shut this down, then we'll never see the findings of that report. We'll never see who should be nailed because of that. So Bill Barr, by appointing Durham a special counsel, it protects him and it makes it a lot harder for Joe Biden to fire him, basically. So this is good. So it's basically the Republicans and Donald Trump's campaign going into protective mode. Just an FYI, Dr. Fauci, we all love Fauci. He's been wrong again. He said, close the bars and keep the schools open to mitigate community spread. Now, for those of you that can't remember yesterday, let me remind you, this is my job. Dr. Fauci was saying that the schools must be closed. The kids are at risk. We've got to protect the children. Well, it looks like now that the Joe Biden presidency is assured, he's like, okay, now I can actually look at the science. Turns out kids have a very low chance of dying. In fact, for those of you that don't know, with COVID-19, kids below the age of 5 are 16 times more likely to die from the flu than COVID-19.
But Fauci's done so many U-turns, he might as well just...
Exactly. He's dizzy.
keep his hand on a hard right lock.
Exactly.
Because he's contradicted himself. Masks are in, masks are out. Lockdown, don't lock down.
Yeah.
Open up, don't open up.
Yeah. Close the border with China, don't close the border with China.
But once again, mainstream media doesn't point out all the inconsistencies. They just point out what he's saying when it suits their narrative.
Exactly.
But if this guy was giving you advice, you'd sack him because he keeps changing his mind.
Exactly. When was the last time Dr. Fauci actually looked into the eyes of a patient that he was taking care of and did something? He hasn't. Think of Dr. Fauci. Let me simplify for you guys. Think about Dr. Fauci as you do Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders has been in politics for 40 years. He's lived up to the public teat for his whole life, never held a job, never started a business, never created a job. That's Dr. Fauci. He served as a doctor a long time ago, not anymore. He doesn't see patients. That's who you have advising the US right now.
He's a good close colleague and friend of Bill Gates.
Oh, that's true as well.
And the rest. So it's not like this guy's an independent, but again, they don't mention that. They don't mention it.
Not at all. So you can expect to see more of that from Dr. Fauci. Some troubling news. You guys have heard me praise Dr. Scott Atlas. I first heard him on the Hoover Institute back in July this year. He gave a phenomenal interview with Peter there at the Hoover Institute, and they talked about bringing common sense to the way they're approaching the COVID-19 crisis. Well, he's just resigned as special advisor to Trump on the COVID-19 crisis. He was set to serve for 130 days. That expired this week, and so he resigned on Monday. That's not good, guys. This guy was a voice of reason. In terms of the lockdowns, he was one of the people early on that was saying we need to open the schools, we need to take a common sense approach to this. The lockdowns are worse than the virus. Look at how many kids are being abused at home because it's not being picked up through the schools, which is the number one place where you pick up on abuse. This guy was a good actor, and it pains me to see him to go and not get brought onto the Biden administration, because he was a really good guy, guys. Another thing that we've been looking at, you can expect. This is going to blow your mind. 23.6% of all US dollars were created within the last year.
Keep those printing presses going. Undermine the currency.
If you have debt, this is great for you. If you have savings, this is terrible. Guys, I'm not going to pretend I 100% understand the repercussions of this, but it's bad. It is very, very bad.
The funny thing is, though, whilst it's bad on one level, it's managed to keep the economies afloat falsely, that keep it afloat, which has prevented the Fed from destroying the economy, because it's again, hard to explain, but it's a Ponzi scheme. You build it up, you build the bubble, it bursts. You build it up, the bubble, and it bursts.
Yep.
And so this is how the Fed controls the economy, by crashing it on a regular basis. What they've done by printing more money, because now that Trump controls the Fed, to a degree, is that he's kept the economies alive. So he's using the Fed's own weapons and the globalists' own weapons against them to keep people up and running. So whilst it's a problem that the dollar is now worth a whole lot less than it was, that the printing presses are keeping it going, and it's a false economy, it's always been a false economy, but now Trump's using it to keep people afloat. So when the economy does get recalibrated correctly, when Trump wants to back it with gold, when Trump wants to produce money with real weight behind it, and which we're going to replicate in Australia 1.
Yeah.
The transition from this ridiculous situation, we move from this to a more balanced, sustainable economy, the basis to it. So in one way it's odd, but in another way it was actually a stroke of genius for Trump to use their own weapons against them, to keep the economy afloat, because they wanted it to crash. They needed it to crash.
Yeah.
And it didn't.
Yeah.
It's still just struggling.
Yeah.
But it's still there, and there's still the potential for a recovery, which is what Trump's banking on, and certainly Australia 1's banking on too.
Yeah.
Because we're still in a position now. Frydenberg, what did he say? We're out of recession because we had a positive growth in the last quarter, but the recovery is still underway. Well, this is just Josh playing the numbers game, because the way they calculate GDP is a set formula, and it's just it's a trick by numbers. And if you put the right numbers on the input, you get the right number on the output, and it says GDP is in the black. So all is good. Well, all is not good. It's a lie. And this nonsense recovery based on home renovations and cashing people up in order to build, the reason they do that is they don't care about the renovation. It's because the housing industry is a key input to this health of the economy metric that they give to people every so often. That's the way they do it. That's why they keep bringing in migrants to build more accommodation. The housing, apart from other things, the housing bubble continues to give the impression the economy is sound. Not true. But the fact is, we're moving through this position where the economy is sound. We can get out of this, we can get the recovery going much quicker. I said it before, say it again.
Yeah.
We can get out of this much quicker than dropkick Josh Frydenberg is suggesting, 60 years of debt. That's complete nonsense.
Yeah.
We build a bigger pie, we take the shackles off small to medium-sized enterprise, build up middle Australia again, and we'll be out of debt in no time. Australians will be paying less tax, we'll be getting out of debt, we'll have a $1 trillion sovereign wealth fund, and the country will be rolling in money.
Yeah.
Better paid jobs, more productivity, happier population, more time watching the footy, and less time working 2.5 jobs.
Yeah.
It's all doable. They don't want to do it. They needed to crash the economy in order for this reset to occur.
Yeah,
That's what it comes back to. They knew that they wanted the reset.
Yeah.
They needed to create a crisis that was so deep and so profound that people wouldn't notice that the world has changed.
Yeah.
But we're still alive by this pumping up of the economy, by printing out the money, which is a wrong thing to do, but the right thing to do. And now people will say, well, we don't need a reset. We're okay, aren't we? Why do we have to reset? There is no crisis. They tried to manufacture the crisis.
Yeah.
It didn't occur. Was it going to be the Third World War? Was it going to be the war with Russia? Probably. Was it going to be the COVID crisis? Probably. But none of that occurred. And we're still sitting here waiting. And guess what? They lost, we won. Because we're still got our head above water and we're in a position to recover. We don't need Josh and Slomo's ridiculous financial projections. We give the people's money back to the people, cut their taxes, cut all the regressive taxes, stamp duty, capital gains tax, fringe benefits, all those taxes are gone. Land tax, gone. Just take it out. Give the money back to the people and watch the country get the red tape out of the way and watch the country explode.
Yeah, absolutely.
Into productivity.
Yeah.
It'll be brilliant. We'll be out of this in no time.
Yeah.
And it reminds me about when Obama said to Trump, what have you got, some sort of magic wand to fix the economy? Kaboom, says Trump with his magic wand. Guess what? We've got manufacturing. Guess what? We've got growth in every metric. The Dow Jones is through the roof. Yeah. The NASDAQ is through the roof. Here's my magic wand, Obama.
Yeah. And what does Obama say? I did that. That's my economy.
And then Obama claimed success for Trump's victory after saying it couldn't be done.
Yeah.
Well, good old Joshy, mate, I'll give you a call in a couple of years and I'll show you the numbers for the economy, and it won't be your bollocks formula that you run to show a positive GDP number. It'll be real wages growth. The population of Australia, the people of Australia will finally have their destiny in their hands. They'll be rich, they'll be happy, they'll be kind and generous, and life will be good. Yeah. And I'll show you my magic wand, mate.
Why can't they just do it? Just like that.
Because their job is to destroy the nation and hand it over. That's their job.
God damn it, it's just frustrating. And on that point, before I forget this, in Donald Trump's administration, he wanted to appoint someone, I think, to the Treasury, that he wanted to appoint someone to basically bring back the gold standard, which would have been phenomenal. So you can tell that's where he wants to go, but he was unable to appoint that person for whatever reason. It didn't get through.
Oh, we know exactly where Trump wants to go. He's got a picture of Andrew Jackson on his wall. Now, for those who don't know, Andrew Jackson is one of my favourite US presidents.
Yeah.
Oh. Man, one of his major accomplishments was to shut down central banking in the US for a period of time before they got it back again. See, this has been an ongoing battle for a long, long, long time.
Yeah.
Central banks in the US are private enterprises. There's nothing federal about the Federal Reserve. It's not actually a federal organisation. It's a privately run bank. It was allowed they started in 1913, and then Woodrow Wilson passed it, got it through, I think, in 1917, and enslaved the US population. Anyway, back to the point, we know where Trump wants to go and why. Yep. He wants to kill the Reserve Bank and control it, which is now, I understand he actually has actual control of it, and he allows them to do what's got to be done. And he has used their own weapons against them, as I said, to get back to your original point, pumping the money up.
Yep.
Insane, except it's exactly the right thing to do. Sometimes situation is so stupid, so crazy, that the only sane thing to do is the insane action, use their own weapons against them, keep the people afloat to the point where he can actually set them free.
Yeah.
We're going to do the same in Oz. But we have a benefit here. We're not suffering to the same degree from central banking problems that the US does. But as I've said before, A1's got a policy where we control our money supply. It's going to be backed by gold. And if we need loans, we don't go to private banks.
Awesome.
Oh, it's brilliant. You watch.
It's awesome. I can't wait.
Watch this space. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I can't wait, and I'm going to enjoy this for a very long time. So I'm very interested. Just briefly, guys. FYI, 40 states they've filed antitrust lawsuits against Facebook. Antitrust, for those of you that don't know, that's when a company gets too big and they have to basically break it up. And so this is very good news in 40 states. This is because this organization's it's not a free market, basically, and Google's just become this oligopoly with the other companies like Google, and it's not a good deal, basicly. So I just want to bring that to your attention briefly. Yeah,
the origin of the antitrust suits goes back to, amongst others, the steel corporations and some of what they referred to as the robber barons in the early days of the United States. And they effectively destroyed competition by becoming so big that it was decided that they needed to be dismantled. Now, the rabid capitalists, the extreme capitalists, said this is terrible, it's wrong. But it's got nothing to do with capitalism as a system. This is mercantilism. This is ownership of the entire setup.
Yeah.
And so antitrust laws are necessary.
Yeah.
And Bill Whittle, if you haven't heard of Bill Whittle, is an excellent US political commentator. He makes the point that when you use the term generically, then it's got to a point of dominance. For example, he held up a Band-Aid and said, this is a Band-Aid, but it's not actually. It's an adhesive sanitary strip. But Band-Aid is the brand that Johnson & Johnson owns, so it becomes that common. So when we say Google it to find out something else, it's now become part of common parlance, but the vernacular. It's an indication of the dominance of an organisation. And even Whittle, who's a huge enemy of antitrust laws, understands that even he has now got to the point where he understands that when a corporation is so large that it in itself, to again borrow the words from the US Declaration of Independence, has become destructive to the ends of the people, then something must be done. And antitrust laws are great. There's no problem with those at all.
Yeah, absolutely. On the topic of big tech, I mentioned before Tulsi Gabbard and Donald Trump were coming together. This is very important. Donald Trump said that if you guys do not repeal Section 230, then I will nuke I will withhold funding from the military, basically. Because he's got a bill that's coming before him to basically just sign off to refinance the military. He said, I'm not going to sign it. In fact, I'm going to veto it. So that you guys repeal Section 230, which is Section 230. I forgot, guys, if you've forgotten, it's it's a section of the Communications Decency Act 1996 in the US that regulates big tech and online media, basically protecting these big tech companies like Google, Facebook, Twitter from the indemnity from if you make a comment on Facebook and I defame Ricardo and I say Ricardo is a Freemason, that's a popular one.
A white supremacist.
A white supremacist
with a black face.
With a black face. It didn't take him long, did it, guys? So if I say that, Facebook won't be liable, I'll be liable. And that sort of makes sense. The problem is, what's happened is they've abused that, basically. It's gone in a really bad way. And Tulsi Gabbard's come out and she said on Twitter, I fully support you on this. Please don't back down. The freedom and future of our country is at stake. That is an example of the right and the left coming together on something, guys. And let's not forget that she's also in favour of ending the wasteless regime change wars, the nation-building wars that the Americans wage on the Middle East. And Donald Trump's exactly the same. He tried the last 2 years to pull the troops out.
It's not left and right, it's right and wrong.
Exactly. One thing I wanted to touch on this week, Section 230, it's a terrible idea to repeal it. I had more of a think on it. It's actually a terrible idea. He needs to reform Section 230. He doesn't need to repeal it. If you repeal Section 230, that means that these companies will be liable for comments like Ricardo Bossi is a white supremacist. They're going to be like, great. Now I can be like the New York Times and completely cull all speech I disagree with, all defamatory comments, all opinions I don't agree with. That's terrible. We don't want that. I think people on the corporate Democrat side are cheering this on. They're saying, beautiful, go for it, Trump. A lot of conservatives have said, no, that's not what Trump's doing. He's playing 4D chess here. Have you read his book? He's doing the big ask. So when they say no to repealing Section 230, they'll be more likely to say, yes, we'll reform it. We will see, guys. We will see. But I had a longer think about Section 230, and I thought, no, it needs a bit more of a more nuanced approach. It's not as simple as repealing the section. You need a bit more, because you do have to protect the organisations to an extent, but you also don't want to hand them a big club so they can club conservatives over the head and progressives as well. A lot of people don't realise this. Us conservatives, we're in a bit of a bubble. We say, we're being censored, we're being this, we're being that. A lot of people don't realise that the progressives that are anti-war are also being censored, because it's not a popular opinion on the Democrat side. So just an FYI for you guys. That's why Democrats should be fighting against censorship as well.
Now you're talking about immunity. It continues on to the vaccinations that Scotty from marketing, Slomo, is going to force upon us by not forcing upon us, but forcing upon us.
Yeah.
They're completely immune from prosecution.
Yeah.
That's complete rubbish. Complete rubbish. I tell you what, they won't produce a vaccine that they're going to be sued for. So that immunity from prosecution from our government. Yeah. And he said it's not going to roll out till March. So we've got 3 months to build an army to tell Scotty that we're not taking it. Yeah. If you want it, you fill your boots. Yeah. But it has to be safe and effective. Yeah. And they can't prove that it's safe, and they can't prove that it's effective. Yeah. They can't. Yeah. Because it won't be done.
Yeah. You know, Ricardo, the last video you said that in, it got nuked by YouTube. I'm not even kidding. There's censorship for you.
Is that right? Well, I'll
it's
say
gone.
I'll
It's my... No. It's fine that you said it. The problem happened when I did a clip of it. And what ended up happening was they nuked that particular clip because I wrote, prove its efficacy, prove vaccines work.
I'll do it 5 times in a row. You got 5 different clips, and I'll do it from different positions.
No, it's fine. It's perfectly fine.
The vaccines, and this is what every Australian should be writing to their MP about.
Yeah.
Prove to me that it is both safe and effective. That's it.
Yeah.
Prove to me it's safe and effective, and then we might consider taking it. Plus, if it's not, and we are forced to take it, the Royal Commission established by A1 to look into the government's response to COVID will investigate every one of these aspects to it, and everyone from Prime Minister to senior bureaucrats, everybody will be held to account.
Yeah.
And just to make sure we get the result we want, we're going to tighten up I've told you this before, tighten up the definitions of treason and sedition. Oh no, there'll be a reckoning. Yeah. And they're not going to like most of it.
Is the vaccine safe? You first, Slomo, you first, you and the politicians. That's a bipartisanship agreement I think we could all agree on in the public.
And I want to see it and I want to give it.
Yeah, you and your kids. Yeah, so guys, if we do get taken down for a week and I can't post, you know why. You know why. Let's have a quick flashback to July. We had a situation where we had George Floyd wrongfully killed by transfixiation, according to the medical report. A cop kneeled on his neck and he died by suffocation, also because he had drugs in his system, because he had enough drugs in him to kill a horse. A lot of people decided to post black boxes in solidarity, makes them really feel good and help the black community and stop ending black, the meaningless deaths of black people, which shouldn't be happening. This is what they did to try and do it. They put these black boxes up. Well, this is the result, guys. They voted to reduce funding for the police and carjackings in Minneapolis. Up,
I never saw that coming.
Up 537% in last month's report. Isn't that just brilliant? So what would you do, Ricardo, in that case? Would you do this? Because this is their reaction. Minneapolis Council trying to defund police again in their area.
I was in Papua New Guinea for a couple of years. When I was there, the Governor General, and we lived under curfew every so often and things like that, so I'm not inexperienced when it comes to barbaric, prehistoric responses to events, because it is pretty brutal up there. There's nothing sophisticated about the place. Governor General died. And as a show of sympathy, there were riots in Gordon and Goroka markets, which is just down the road from us. And Moresby went insane, and they're just smashing windows and stealing stuff because the Governor General died. And it's exactly the same thing. Yeah. It's just prehistoric and barbaric behaviour. The only difference here is we've got the corporate Democrats facilitating the destruction of society because they want to destroy the United States. I've said it before, I'll say it again. They don't want to control America, they want to destroy America. And the Americans have to watch what's going on and understand it. And that's exactly what happened. They did see what was going on. That's why Trump won more votes than ever before. Yeah. And they had to fabricate Biden's ridiculous victory over Trump, because we know it's fabricated. Yeah. There's no way that guy got more votes than Obama. Yeah.
It's not a thing.
And so it's just barbaric behaviour. Human civility is wafer thin. It is wafer thin. Yeah. Most people, I've said it before, say it again, most people's morality depends on their bank balance. You take away their money and all of a sudden they're scrambling for food. We saw it. People elbowing each other for a roll of sorbent. That's how close we are every second of every day from absolute barbarity. Yeah. That's all this is. This is just, they're destroying the place. They want to see the world burn. Yeah. There's a whole segment of the elite, they're sociopaths, but they're the kid that pulls wings off flies. They get a penny bunger and shove it up a cat's bum and light it to see it blow up because they're broken. Except they're not kids. They've grown up and they now run corporations. They now run governments. They run government bureaucracies. But they're still sociopaths and they don't care. That's what we're up against. Stop trying to project some sort of moral basis to their behaviour. They have no moral basis. They are broken.
Yeah.
They're utterly broken. And so that's why I come back to it.
Yeah.
You got to ask yourself your question. Is human history peace punctuated by moments of war, or war punctuated by moments of peace? Because depending on your understanding of history, you'll get a very clear answer to that. And once you get an answer to that, you know what's got to be done to keep the peace.
Absolutely. Beautiful, guys. That sums up a final week here. I'm not sure when we're going to be taking a break from the show, but we'll definitely be taking a week or two off over Christmas. Not because the news is scanty, it's just because scheduling issues that we've got and being in different places, different times, and also family commitments.
Yep, and a busy Queensland tour. Toowoomba, Dalby, Blackhall, Barcallan, Winton, Hewenden, Charters Towers, Townsville, Mackay, Rockhampton, Yeppoon, Bundaberg, up one side, down the other. Over the next 3 weeks, it's going to be great. Go to the Australia One website. The list of cities we're visiting and the dates is up there. Come along, say hello. Yeah. Particularly this Sunday, right? Freedom Day marches. Get out there, guys. You bet. Absolutely. Be there or be square. That's right. And this is Sunday, the 6th of September, guys. If you see this late, this is good. This is very good. Now's the time to do it. I know you guys are like, oh, but things are opening up. It's fine now. It's good. If you let them get away with this, they'll be back. You know? Well, okay, let's finish on that point. This is Stockholm Syndrome. This is the hostage terrorist psychology. And Stockholm Syndrome originated in the 70s when Black September and the Red Brigades and the rest of the lunatics in Europe started taking hostages. And what would happen over a period of time, the hostages would begin to sympathise with the terrorists. And so when they were released, the hostages would sometimes try to protect the terrorists. That's how strong this psychological process is. Now, what they've done to you is exactly the same thing. They have chipped away at your rights to the point where you sit there with a mask on your face, pretending it's going to make you feel better, standing 1.5 metres from your grandmother and don't give her a hug because you might kill her. And the moment they relent just a little, you are deeply grateful to them and you think they're really good. And what you've forgotten is they have stripped you of all human decency. So don't be grateful they've allowed you to cross the border. Don't be grateful they've allowed you to stand 2 metres apart rather than 4 metres apart. Tell them to get stuffed. Tell them to go to hell. Tell them that this is your life and you're going to live it the way you want to and you're not going to kill anybody because it's a lie. Don't accept this gift, this alleged gift of a release. It's got nothing to do with that. Tell them to get stuffed. You're free. Sovereignty lies with the people. Sovereignty lies with every one of you. That's right. And you have every right to tell the government to go to hell. Everyone needs to tap into their inner Jacko and Narelle. Get stuffed. Get stuffed. That's it. I love Aussies. They're just the best. And that's why I love meeting them up here in Queensland. I'm honestly looking forward to seeing a lot of you guys at the Freedom Day March. It's going to be awesome. But Ricardo, thank you for another week. I'll see you next week. Thanks, mate. Beautiful.